And after a brief absence, welcome back to Mega Man X. Sorry about that, got caught up with some pointless bullshit, and I was just being lazy. But with that out of the way, we're at Sigma's Fortress 1. Now, Zero here says he's going to go off and deal with the defenses, but that's just his way of saying he's not going to do anything and just appear later on. Now, if you notice any differences in the video quality here, that's because I am no longer recording this off an emulator. I actually recently bought the Mega Man X collection and am recording it off of that. Now, I haven't used my recording software for games off of my Dazzle in quite some time, and a lot of my compression settings have seemed to mysteriously vanish. And I don't really know what that's all about. So right now I'm working with the video quality, so in these first couple of videos you're probably going to notice some terrible tearing issues. But hopefully they won't be too annoying. Now for that first platforming section, it's really annoying because in X1 there isn't really any form of aerial recovery. So if you fall, you're basically fucked unless you're to the extreme left and can land back on the first platform. Use the rolling shield to avoid the flying things. Now here's our old friend from the start of the thing, Vile. Zero offers to take him on for us. Now you may have noticed that at the first section of the thing I wasn't really trying to dodge anything and I was just letting everything hit me. There's actually a reason for that. If you're curious on how to avoid those things without taking any damage, Sting Chameleon's weapon when charged up makes you invincible, and it makes it really easy to get past them. Now Vile here has taken Zero prisoner, since Zero managed to fuck up actually beating this guy. Some uber powerful Reploid he turned out to be. And as Vile states, his armored carrier is way more than X can actually hope to realistically take on. So, this is another hopeless battle against Vile. He just takes you out. After a while, once your health gets low enough, he just fires those paralyzing things at you. To avoid killing you, of course. But Zero busts out. And looks like he's going to make a heroic sacrifice. How sweet. With that convenient Deus Ex Machina out of the way, Vile's suit has been destroyed, leaving him vulnerable. Unfortunately, X is still paralyzed. Unfortunately for Vile, another plot-convenient asshole. Although this works in our favor, since it would be kind of annoying to try and beat Vile with that little health. Even Vile's surprised at what just happened. Although, for considering what Vile says there, maybe X was using the energy of the Mavericks that he's beaten so far. Who knows, really? Maybe he just used a sub-tank. Anywho, for Vile, the weapon that does the most damage to him is the Storm Tornado, but as you'll see, the X-Buster works just fine, and in fact is probably one of the more damaging weapons you can use against him. To be honest with you, Vile isn't too tough if you maxed out your health and gotten the armor upgrade like I did, as your shots do way more damage to him than he can do to you. If you want some real fun, try beating Vile without any upgrades. He can actually be pretty tough, but he's not too bad. Now, here's an interesting thing. If you didn't collect the arm upgrade in Flame Mammoth stage, Zero would actually give you his Z-Buster, and you'd get the upgraded X-Buster from it. I guess they did that because, A, the location of the upgraded X-Buster is rather obscure, and B, unless you know about the certain weapon that he's actually weak to, the final boss can only be hurt with the fully charged X-Buster. I'd wonder why they design it like that, but whatever. Anywho, from now on we actually want to avoid taking damage because there aren't any more scripted fights like that. So, you're going to notice some very dickish moves on the game's part to try and prevent me from getting health. Mostly, those guys with the maces are a fucking pain in the ass. The best way to get through here is to use the rolling shield to get past the turrets and the flying fuckers, as I like to call them. However, those guys with the morning stars, or whatever, I really can't be consistent with names. They constantly destroy your shields, so at some points it's just better to take the hits. I was trying to charge up my shield there, but I kept accidentally firing it. Here I took the opportunity to try and get some health back. Now, for whatever reason, whenever I try to do a dash jump off of that platform, it never worked. I don't get that. Always that specific spot where I always seem to mistime it. I don't know why. Now, instead of having you fight all 8 Mavericks at once, X1 has you fight them over the course of Sigma's Fortress, which I think that's how the original Mega Man handled it with its Robot Masters, although I don't know, since I've only played like a very little bit of the original Mega Man. However, now, since we've already seen all these bosses, I'm going to show you how pathetically easy they are if you use their weakness. I wasn't paying attention, but I don't think Boomer Kuwanger hit me once during this. If he did, it wasn't for much. So yeah, throughout the course of these levels, you'll be fighting the old Mavericks. And Sigma Fortress 3 is basically completely devoted to fighting all the old Mavericks, and it has a unique boss fight at the end. Here's a good chance to get some of your health back, because there's a ton of weak enemies that you can destroy relatively easily. They do overcrowd you, but since the amount of health you get back compared to the amount you'll lose is pretty well balanced out. Okay, so let's head on to the ultimate boss of this first stage, who is neither vile nor a repeated Maverick, but the Bow Spider, who we haven't seen up until this point. Now, if you're paying attention, you probably noticed some discrepancies between my health and what it is now. Embarrassingly, I actually managed to lose to Bow Spider. I kind of feel sad about that. Still not as bad as that one infamous Retsu Prey. But that's neither here nor there. Now, this is one of these situations where the ultimate upgraded X-Buster ironically makes things kind of harder. Basically, since there's a very short window of when you can actually hit Bow Spider's weak point, and the ultimate X-Buster shot is a stream-type weapon that gets all its damage when the entire thing hits, it's very possible you'll fire it too late and only be able to get 1 damage off on Bow Spider. Also, rather annoyingly, is occasionally Bow Spider will try to deploy little babies at you, which can be rather annoying, since trying to dodge those in between not getting in Bow Spider's way is kind of a pain. Luckily, even a medium-charged Buster Shot will be able to destroy any of the baby spiders in the way. Also, something that Bow Spider can do that I did not know about until this Let's Play is that if you jump in the air while she's coming down on the poles, she'll actually stop to fire baby spiders at you. And I had never seen that up until this Let's Play. But yeah, that just cues you in. You're better off just sticking to the ground rather than trying to jump over Bow Spider, since she counters that with babies. However, once you start seeing how she works and can start following the patterns, she's a pretty easy boss. If you liked Bow Spider, she basically comes back as Web Spider in X4, which we'll see later. Way later, I mean. But that was Sigma Fortress 1. Now, the X Collection allows you to use passwords, but it also has a saving feature. This is actually somewhat important because the way the saving system works is it actually takes you back to before it takes you back to the first Fortress stage, and this is consistent for all of the games on the X Collection, I think. I'm not sure about X3 since that's based off the PS1 version of X3 rather than the SNES, but for X1 and X2, saving in the final Fortress areas takes you back to the first one. So it's handy to write down the passwords for these areas. Unfortunately, I didn't realize this until after I completed this video, but I completed X1 again personally for my own playthrough to unlock some of the bonus features for the X Collection, so I wrote down the password then. Now here's Chill Penguin, and I said when we first fought him that his weakness makes the fight arguably actually tougher, because you have to get so close to him to hit him with it. And hilariously, I actually redid this fight with just the X-Buster, and I didn't get hit once, so yeah, the Flame Wave just isn't worth it. What is it called again? To be honest with you, the weapons in the X series are kind of useless. I mean, they have their applications, but more often than not, the regular Buster is just equally reliable. Usually I only use the extra weapons for their more gimmicky features or their ability to get secrets. And in these instances right here where you have to refight the Mavericks, it speeds up the process quite a bit. If you don't destroy that guy fast enough, he'll actually take that ride armor, but the guys in the ride armor really aren't all that tough. Really, the regular enemies in the X-Series in general aren't all that tough since they don't have invincibility frames. To be honest with you, the most annoying enemies are the bats and the other various flying enemies since they always come at you from angles and never fly at you straight on. Kind of hilarious how that works. Anywho, this is probably the easiest climb you'll see in the Sigma Fortresses. And, coming up here, we have our old friend. That's right, it's Storm Eagle again. Now if you thought he was pathetic with the X-Buster, just wait until you see when I use Sting Chameleon's weapon. That does 3 damage to him every time. Which means I basically got a fully charged X-Buster without having to charge the X-Buster. Also, aside from the invincibility effect, this is pretty much the only application Sting Chameleon's weapon has. It's pretty much usable. Well, no, I spoke too soon. There is one other time later on where I use it. As you can see, I'm not even trying to dodge his attacks here since there's no point. I out-damage him, and he usually just leaves himself wide open, so really no need to bother. And with that, Storm Eagle is taken care of. Storm Eagle, you got such a cool name and a cool design, but you're so pathetic. Oh well. Also, this climb kinda sucks. I always hated the respawning enemies in these games, because they're always strategically placed to screw you over. This is a situation where I try to get around it without taking any damage, but I ultimately just say, fuck it. Just try to see if I can get through it. Regardless of how much damage I take. Eventually it works out. With that taken care of, we have another boss coming up. A unique one this time, and not just some old Maverick. And embarrassingly, despite how easy this boss is, I managed to fuck it up and die. But, just to give you an idea of how easy this boss is, this is the only other thing where Sting Chameleon's weapon is useful. This boss is horrifically weak to it. I almost died there because I got flung into the spikes, but thank God for invincibility frames. Now, if Sting Chameleon's weapon could be more rapidly fired, this fight would be even more of a joke than it already is. What the hell is this thing supposed to be, a giant monkey face? What, did Sigma, like, rebuild Spark Mandrill into this abomination? But, whatever the case, that's the end of Sigma Fortress 2. Like I said before, Sigma's Fortress 3 is pretty much nothing but Maverick fights, plus the boss at the end. But we'll be seeing that next time. So, until then, see ya.